What's up, guys? Welcome to the six episodes, isn't it?
Six.
Yeah. Number 6. Fucking hell, we've done 6 episodes already. So, as you can see today, we don't have Farid Haji Zidi. By the way, that's not how his name is pronounced.
He's hiding
He's hiding.
after his prediction.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to add the clip.
He beats Paul Hughes, in my opinion, badly.
No, I think it's going to be close. It's going to be closer than we think.
If he's going to beat Paul Hughes, he'll have to come through some sort of adversity. I don't think he'll have it all his own way. Paul Hughes will land a shot.
Yeah.
Land a shot and then
Someone said
Potentially fight. Like with the AJ McKee one. When did he land that? Like, end of the first round?
I think it was end of the first.
If that had been a minute before, 90 seconds before, he might have stopped it.
Of him saying, what was it? He was like, he's going to beat him badly.
Yeah.
We're going to get on to today's topic, which, so, you saw it. I don't know if you guys did, but it was Usman Nurmagomedov versus
Paul Hughes. Yes.
Overall, what do you think?
Good fight.
Good fight.
Really, really good fight. We called it.
Yeah.
We said it was going to be a good fight. It was going to be an even fight. Can't write Paul Hughes off. I think we called that before, and I think he showed his level last night. The AJ McKee was a dominant performance from him, and then to step in there last night was under big pressure, fighting for a world title against Usman with the name and the corner team. You know, we both said about
we do bring it up, like
Khabib, Javier Mendez, and Islam in a corner is
like imagine, like you mentioned it. Imagine like standing across your opponent, and then behind you just see Khabib, Islam Makhachev, and Javier Mendez, and you're like, damn. But he didn't. One thing I liked about Paul Hughes, which surprised me, was how, because usually anytime anyone fights, you know, these Dagestanis, they're going to the fight accepting the fact that we're gonna play your game, but I'm gonna be on the defensive straight away.
yeah.
In a sense, they're not very like gun shy in a sense, like, but Paul Hughes came out on, like, it was on him.
Yeah, I think that comes from, obviously they had a game plan, clearly with the body work that we saw.
Very effective.
His self-confidence as well, I think, plays a massive factor in that. The belief he has in himself, which, you know, if you've watched Paul Hughes in the past, it's, you know, he's bulletproof. And he'll come again. I don't think, yes, he lost the fight in the eyes of the judges, but I don't think it did his stock any damage. If anything, it's arguably gone up.
Yeah, definitely. He made Usman, honestly, like, I'm a big fan of the Nurmagomedovs.
Yes.
Right? And in general, anyone from Dagestan. But he made Usman fight. He brought him out. He said the takedown defense, the scrambles, it was on point. It was on point. And he made him fight. He said, today we're gonna stand and bang. And Usman tried, like.
Yeah, like I say, that even, obviously, people are talking about the scorecards. So there were 2 scores of 48-46 and 1 score of 47-47. Majority decision to Usman. Immediately, obviously, there's a flare-up online.
Yeah.
Ignore that.
That's always going to be.
It's never a robbery. It's not a robbery. It's an extremely close fight. When you look at the scorecards from the 3 judges, even the rounds in which they've all agreed to Usman, I think round 1 was possibly one of those rounds. Even that round is on a knife edge. It's close.
Yeah.
The split rounds, which I think were 2, 4, and 5,
Yeah. I think
are so close.
razor like thing.
And this is what I was saying the last time I was here. It can literally come down to 1 strike. If when we're looking at effective striking, and in that round, or in that fight in particular, there wasn't anything majorly effective in terms of people being wobbled or people being stunned. But there were 2 different approaches, which were more of the accumulative side. There was Usman, his leg kicks, the inside leg kick from southpaw, that marked up Paul Hughes.
Yeah,
Didn't see any issue with his movement.
Yeah, it didn't slow him down. He didn't react.
But on the other side, you've got Paul Hughes is battering his body every opportunity he gets. If he slips inside, he was just drilling that left hook to the body. When Usman got the double tie plum clinch on him,
spammed those hooks.
No interest in staying in that clinch. He was score.
He wasn't even trying to like break or anything or escape. As soon as Usman's hand was in that tie clinch, Paul Hughes was like, all right, straight away.
There's clearly a plan there. And those rounds that are split, you know, the judges are using the criteria that is written and, you know, how they're interpreting that. Both of those two styles for me are accumulative. Smashing someone's legs to limit their mobility is accumulative damage over the course of 25 minutes. Hitting their body is accumulative to slow them down. They're hard rounds to split. They are hard rounds to score.
Yeah.
I think the easiest round possibly out of the 5 was the 5th for the prolonged period that Usman had against the cage, where he was kind of kneeing. Again, body. It's accumulative stuff. It's not going to finish a fight. Paul Hughes hit him with like 2 lovely switches and separated last 30 seconds to a minute. But you can't use that last 30 seconds as a reflection of that whole round, because there's 4 minutes or so prior that we have to take into account. So
that's when Usman had his back, I think, Paul Hughes.
Yeah, the switches were lovely, but they almost came a little bit too late. So I think Usman accumulated enough effective striking
to win that
with that round.
With the striking and with the control as well.
Yeah.
Like in terms, see, when a fight is that close, like you mentioned, anything, if it lands clean, if a shot lands clean, doesn't matter if it drops or anything. If it's a land and you can clearly see, like, I think if it gets to a point where it's so close, even a stiff jab might.
Well, the Merab fight the week before.
Yes.
We spoke about that last time, and I went and watched it, and I messaged you and said about the 5th round. The 5th round is really, like, I had that 2 apiece going into the 5th, and the 5th round is close. And for me, I think there's a shot where Merab lands an overhand right, which it lands, and that might have won him that round, that one strike. It was that close. Yeah.
When it gets to that, it's always gonna be like it being so close. But some fans, like, they just refuse to see that. Like, their favourite fighter could be...
Yeah, that's passion.
Do you know what I mean? And then, like, all over MMA Twitter, it was just all rubber. I mean, with one of those scorecards, for the Hughes and Paul Hughes and Usman, was it 49, 46?
No, I think there was 2 scores of 48.
I think one of them was a bit...
I have the scorecard.
If you guys haven't seen the fight, first of all, I recommend you watch it. But I think it was the 3rd round. Was it the 3rd round when there was a point deduction? 3rd
was the point deduction.
It was the 3rd round with a point deduction. Like, we watched it. Even when the point deduction, I was like, if this goes to a decision, Usman is going to lose the fight unless he does something. And in that round, after the point deduction, Usman came strong.
Yeah, the aggression level went up
I think it might have been a 9-9, like you mentioned. It might have.
That was how it was scored across all 3, with the point deduction.
With the point deduction, yeah. So I think that's what made it very. But with that point deduction, it was. I necessarily didn't agree with it. I don't think it should have been a point deduction, because it wasn't a intentional shot.
Yeah.
Basically, for those who don't know, he kicked him. I think Usman kicked Paul Hughes in the
genitals.
The private, right? And again, with the inside leg kick, southpaw orthodox, it's gonna land. And then Paul Hughes done it to Usman.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd one where Usman, I think he had his back, or there was some sort of
there was a clinch.
And then as Paul Hughes turned, as he spun away, Usman threw a kick. But where he threw a kick, Paul Hughes' leg came up, and then it just landed. And
I think from the referee's side, yes, Paul Hughes is turning, but Usman's in control of that situation. He can choose not to throw that strike. He could throw a punch.
Yeah, true.
He chose to throw that kick, and it landed where it landed.
With him, being one prior to that.
I think that's why the point happened. So.
Yeah, and Beltran, was it Mark Beltran?
Yes.
He was the referee. He's, fair play to him. Like, he did warn him about that. And see, anytime I see things like this, I don't just pick one side and stick to that. Like initially, I might be a bit pissed off, but then calm down a bit, and then I see both sides, and I get why Mike did that.
Yeah, it's, like I say, I think Usman is in control of that situation. He can control what he's throwing. He's made that choice to throw that kick, and it's landed where it's landed. It's unfortunate, but
yeah, it was just one of the things.
The fourth round for me is the one that I think is the biggest debate. Obviously, there was the clash of heads in that round.
Oh yeah, that was
in which Usman was given time to recover. Yes, Paul Hughes was given that time as well, but
he said he was ready.
He didn't require that time, and I think Paul Hughes, from listening to what he was saying after the fight, kind of felt that momentum was shifting with him at that point. Yeah. And that short interval break with the clash of heads kind of gave Usman a bit of a reprieve.
That's just a vet move.
Which it's unfortunate, but that's fighting.
It's just experience.
But for me, the fourth round, I scored for Paul Hughes, along with, I think Hadi Ali is the judge who had it as the draw, and the other two scored for Usman, I believe. But again,
I thought Usman had the first round. I think he had second and the fifth.
So Sal D'Amato scored for Usman in the first, the second. They were 9-9 in the third with the point deduction, so essentially he scored for Usman in the third, and the fifth. He scored for Paul Hughes in the fourth, which I think is the correct. Eric Colon had Usman in the first and second. Split 9-9 in the third, so again Usman with the point deduction. He also had the fourth to Usman and had the fifth to Paul Hughes. Now I had it the other way personally, but that's how close this fight was.
Yeah.
And Hadi Ali, who I think got the score right, he had 10-9 Usman in the first, 10-9 Hughes in the second, which is I think how we roughly had it. Yeah. Split 9-9 in the third with a point deduction, 10-9 to Paul Hughes in the fourth, 10-9 to Usman in the fifth, which I think
is that's right. Yeah,
that's the right scorecard for me.
We had it that way as well.
I can understand.
Yeah, it's just one of those fights, isn't it? Like whichever way you give to anyone can make a strong case for any round.
Yes.
For any of the fights.
And they are, those judges are working to a written criteria. Their interpretation of that criteria is how they collated their scores. There's no foul play. There's no, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. So obviously we had. Did you get to see the Vadim Nemkov?
No, I saw the result.
Yeah, I feel like for him, who's next for him?
Yeah.
And with Tim Johnson, respect to the guy, but he didn't look like he did not belong in there. Vadim Nemkov was just faster. Obviously the age and everything, and Vadim was just in shape.
Yeah, I mean,
like he was in shape. He was fast. He was when the wrestling exchanges came in, he was just that one step ahead.
I'm sure as the brand grows, they'll bring new challenges through for him.
We're gonna get onto that now.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this. That just goes to show my knowledge when it comes to the MMA world. But for those who don't know, PFL bought out Bellator. So as of, what was it, yesterday?
It was last week. It was announced, I think, that Bellator were to be absolved or no longer existed.
Yeah, so Bellator is not a thing anymore. It's done. It's finished. So now PFL owns Bellator. Like, so where does that leave some of the Bellator fighters? Do they go? Are they free agents? Are they?
Who are the twins or the brothers, Patricky and Pitbull?
Oh, Patrice, yeah.
One of them's been released.
Yeah.
I think he was already sort of quite vocal that he wanted to
be in UFC.
Yeah. Whether that will happen, I think there's a few. It's Aaron Pico.
That's what UFC were interested in him.
I think they still are, which will be a really good signing as well. If you've not watched him fight,
Aaron Pico,
really high level wrestler, but he's so explosive with his boxing.
He's got power as well.
Yeah, so there's a few that are in the market. I think
it's a good move, just to bring new you know, and for example, a good prime example would be like for Usman, him being at lightweight, I wouldn't say clearing out the lightweight division in Bellator, but you know, beating the top guys.
Yeah, I mean,
with PFL coming in, and there might be some, you know, fresh blood.
His road's blocked at the UFC. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
as it stands with Islam
being the champion,
and them being teammates, he's not going to come over and try and fight for the title. That's maybe something further down the line with his age being sort of on his side.
He's still young. He's 26 years old. I mean, I think actually like Islam is probably going to fight for maybe 3 to 4 years, and then he's going to retire, and then we might see Usman coming in over to UFC. And let's be honest, it won't be hard for him to come to UFC.
No, it'll be down to the time and what contract he's got, where PFL are in their growth, because, you know, as I said to you before we sort of came on here, as much as Dana probably won't like it, the UFC requires competition. 100%. It can't just be one big fish in a pond. No. You need people in it. For a while has kind of been Bellator. People know the name. They're an American-based company. One are obviously doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, promoting their fighters, and Rizin do their thing in Japan, but the UFC are still the big fish.
Yeah, they're the
and
big
they need a rival so that journalism can talk about it. Yeah. People can get excited about third parties. So the PFL would have to grow. I think that obviously they've stopped the $1 million contract thing now, the $1 million prize money.
The tournament they used to.
Yeah, so they're still doing the tournament but with less prize money.
Oh, okay.
Now, whether the $1 million was to bring people over, rather than go to the UFC, come here, you could have 4 or 5 fights, fight for $1 million. It brings people over, which increases their roster, increases their level of their roster maybe, I don't know. But now they need to build on that. And they're never going to rival the UFC. The UFC has 30 years on them. Yeah, it's got 30 years of history. It has a very catchy name.
It's easy, you know.
PFL now can use that fight last night to go, well, our 2 guys that fought for the lightweight title last night will match. And I think they do. I think if you put Usman and Paul Hughes into lightweight in the UFC now, they are both top 15, I'd say.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Looking at the UFC top 15 at 55, I think both of them would fit into there.
And their style as well.
Yeah.
Fits in, because in UFC, like you mentioned, the top 10s, the top 5, the top 15, you don't really have, like, besides Paddy or Moicano, obviously Islam and Charles Oliveira, maybe Arman Tsarukyan, well, definitely Arman Tsarukyan. You don't have like these wrestling / submission heavy fight. Majority of them are strikers. Like the majority of them, you got Gaethje, you got Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner, and all these guys like in that top 10. Usman and Paul Hughes, they like that type of matchup. They like those type of fights. So it would favor them.
Yeah, I mean,
it will be tough competition for them.
Yeah, obviously we see, you know, people do come from cross promotions into the UFC. That the fella who fought for the flyweight title a few weeks back was from Rizin, and Kaya Sakura, is it?
Yeah, Kaya
Everyone
Sakura.
kind of building him up to be like a real threat to Panzeric.
Yeah,
we just kind of saw like a bit of a level thing there. Yeah, there is obviously the chance that could happen. I don't think it would.
And then you had Chandler coming over and just knocking out Hooker.
Yeah, so
winning some, losing some, but
for the PFL now, I think it's imperative that they keep hold of those two, especially at the minute, because
both of them, yeah.
Usman's obviously spoken about he needs to fight 3 or 4 people to build that rematch. I'd say do it straight away. Do it again. It sells again. Like, in my opinion, they could announce that rematch in 6 months' time.
Let him like have the minimum just one fight. Let Paul fight once, and then obviously preferably win that, and then that post-fight speech.
Yeah, so
just build it up, and like, I do get where you're coming from. It doesn't need to be built up. It's there. How razor thin and everything. Do you know what I mean? It's there, but I would still like to have it. Just to have a fight, maybe Usman fight.
No, so
whoever's next.
It wouldn't. I don't think it would be.
I think it would
ignorant
help
if they did make him fight one more fight to sort of get a path back to the title, but I could completely understand if they went, let's
just do it again.
Do it again. Let's cash in on this because it sells. So,
where would you want to see that though?
Doesn't bother me. Wherever, as long as it's 5 rounds.
It's gonna be fun.
Just let them go again.
What, in the US or Dubai or?
Makes no difference, does it?
Yeah.
Not to me. It might do to them, obviously.
Preferably, I like it when the fights start early. I love it. Anytime there's a fight announced in Abu Dhabi or like
Saudi next week.
Anyway, do you know what I mean? Like with the fights, I get so happy, and I'm like, yes, I don't have to wake up at 3 in the morning or stay awake until 3 in the morning. Because when the main event starts at 3, you know for a fact you're going to be awake till 6.
The main cards are 3 a.m. The main event's going to be 5 a.m.
Yeah, so I like it when the early starts. And then I see Americans, I see all them complain every time there's a fight, who's going to wake up at this? I was like, bro, relax.
There was an event, the UFC event that Lonnie Kavanagh fought on a few weeks back. That was on at 8 a.m. I watched his fight. I think it was in China. Was it in China? It was in Asia. I was sat eating my breakfast.
I think I was at work when I watched
watching Lonnie Kavanagh fight.
I was at work when I watched that fight.
Which I could do that every weekend. Let's just go there, and we'll have it peak time here. The Americans can have a bit of 3 a.m., 2 a.m.
No, 100%. So, I mean, I like what they've done with the PFL, and then like you mentioned, I don't think they're gonna release.
No, this
Usman. I think they're gonna make sure
they have to build their stable
to keep him,
build their stars. They have one, in my opinion, in Dakota.
Yeah.
You know, she.
I'm not even gonna pronounce her last name.
Dakota Decheva.
Dakota, and she's amazing, by the way.
She ran through the European Series and then did exactly the same on the World Series. Took $1 million, and she talks well. She's violent.
Very violent. Doesn't look violent, by the way.
Yeah, she's well-rounded. She's smart with it as well. There's a little bit of, some comments were made by Talia Santos before the last one.
Yeah.
And rather than respond pre-fight, she puts it in a celebration and then puts it in the post-fight, and you're
she was saying about like the lipstick.
Yeah,
she was like, you're wearing lipstick. And after
she's only a model or something, and you just got beat up.
She was just there with the lipstick after the fight.
Which I like that.
It is cool to see, and I was very surprised. Like, we know Talia Santos is no joke. Like, she arguably gave a very hard fight to Shevchenko when they fought, and as we know, Shevchenko is the GOAT when it comes to the women's fighters. She's amazing. Like, she can do it all. The wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the striking, the fight IQ, everything. And Talia Santos, it made her look like, okay, you know what? Because prior to that fight, I think, I can't think of a fight. I know Alexa Grasso, but prior to that one, it's like Shevchenko was just running through everyone.
Yeah, I think.
Or making it look like they didn't belong there.
The time for Shevchenko then was her peak.
Yeah, and she looked, like I said, she's amazing. But Talia Santos made her look. I was like, okay, made everyone think like, okay, you know what? Maybe there's something there. So when she got
released and signed for the PFL, I think that was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Now whether again that £1 million floating there, and she was like, well, I can hang at the top of the UFC 125 as maybe if I go over there.
That's $1 million straight.
Yeah, and then this girl from Manchester rocks up and.
We're like, no, not today.
Not today.
But when
the PFL, have to build stars like her.
Yeah.
People like Usman, Paul Hughes, and probably an array of others. They have to build them, and they have to give them competitive fights. No one's going to want to watch Dakota run through another series with very little or low adversity. I don't think.
I think that's what makes.
That's how you build your brand.
Yeah, that's how you
competitive fights, good fights.
Seeing them go through that wars or the adversity, and then coming back.
But they could do this with Paul Hughes and with Usman. I mean, Usman's name obviously will sell.
Yeah, people are gonna watch him regardless. There's people who will like him for who he is, his fighting style. There's people who will just turn up just to see him lose.
Yeah,
but
it's
always
now,
gonna be like that.
This year is a really big building year for them, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like with the like I said, when she beat Talia Santos, I was surprised.
I thought she'd beat her, but I didn't think she'd do it as easy as she did.
Like, yeah, the way she done it, I was like, damn, like that. Like, are we sure that's Talia Santos?
Yeah, she's just
just
so the Muay Thai.
Those body shots though, you know, when she had her curled up against the cage and she went head and she went boom to the body, like 2 or 3 shots, and that was it. But yeah, no, it was beautiful to see. But I like that. I like the competition that the PFL, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, with the PFL roster, bringing in the Bellator, I like that. One thing I want to mention is, I think it was Patricky, or one of the Pitbull brothers. So he got released. He's a free agent. I think Dana White is the type of guy to sign him, send him straight to the Wolves, like at the, because what is he? He's a featherweight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna sign him, right? He's gonna be like, your first fight, UFC debut, you're fighting Max Holloway, just to prove a point.
It could sell. Like, he's coming over with
It will sell.
title again, similar to sort of like when Chandler came over. If he comes over, he's coming over as an ex-champion who's, you know, had like 30 odd pro fights plus.
Yeah.
And he's been at that level for a prolonged period of time. So.
Agreed. Yeah. When you're at that, like I said, when you're fighting, I think any fighter from any organization, well, the well-known organizations, when they come over to UFC, regardless of how good you were in that organization, people automatically just say, okay, if you haven't fought in UFC, we don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care. If you win a fight in UFC, or if you come in UFC and then you fight and then you make it, and people are like, okay, now you seem legit. So I think with the Pitbull brothers, with one of them, by the way, their names, I don't know which is. I think one's Patricio, one's Patricky.
Yeah, Patricky and Patricio.
I think Patricio is the one who got released. Anyway, so when he comes over to UFC, there are some people who have no idea who he is, and you know, there are some, like us, we know who he is, but even I'm guilty of it. Like,
we don't know his name. We know who he
exactly,
is. We don't
like,
know his name.
I don't. We know of them, but we don't know them like that. I mean, of course, like, we've seen the fights and everything, but what point I was trying to make is, how is he gonna do?
I think the determining factor for him is his age.
He's on the end.
You know, he's older. Chandler came and he was kind of just maybe poking past his what you'd call prime, but MMA is a weird sport. People have primes late, people have primes early. So
yeah, it's always gonna be. It's just from that sport, innit? So yeah, I think we're coming up to. Oh, we got
a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So we.
So yeah, I would like to see that signing. I would like to see.
Yeah, I think Aaron Pico as well.
Pico.
At 35 or 45, I'm not too sure which division he'll go into, but
he's another one, solid, very good wrestler. I think he's one of those fighters, like, you're a wrestler and then he knocks.
Similar to Gagey.
And he's like, okay, you know what? I like knocking people out.
Yeah, why wrestle him if I can hit him once? And
Exactly, he is similar to Gagey. Like, I think he's more technical.
Yeah.
Like, he's more. Like, on the come up, like, he was just wild, and I think that's how he
had a couple
caught.
of losses early, yeah.
Because again, that was him just looking for the finish, rushing, forcing things.
I think so, yeah, knowing that his power would probably outlast a lot of people, but maybe the technique wasn't quite there, which
But now I think he's definitely
tidied a few holes up, and
yeah, he's another good addition to the UFC, in my opinion. Like I said, if
it happens, definitely.
If and you want to see that, like in UFC, you want to see. I'd prefer some of these fighters, like, because does PFL have flyweight division? I don't think they have flyweight.
No, I don't think so.
Did Bellator have flyweight?
No.
Yeah, that's
because they did like the weird crossover with Horiguchi, but used to fight Sergio Pettis. Would fight at like bantamweight, and then I think bantamweight in Risen it was like 130. Flyweight in Risen it's like 135 pounds. It's like that weird weight class crossover.
Yes.
So Horiguchi was. I don't know if he's going to PFL or whether they will stay with Risen.
Yeah, that's one of the things. It's just confusing.
Same with
for some
Sergio
of the-
Pettis.
I like to see Patchy.
Patchy Mix, yeah.
He's another one. I'd like to see how he's gonna. He's a bantamweight, I think.
Yeah.
He's gonna be another. Like I said, there's some good. I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's
PFL says, okay, you guys.
how much of that roster moves over
to PFL? How many
And
of
then,
them are going to be
yeah.
free agents?
I'm sure, PFL will probably still want to sell and promote the stars that they had originally, like Brendan Loughnane. He's obviously won $1 million.
He's another very good fighter.
They'll want to build him over potentially someone that's come in from Bellator, but I think if you watch enough PFL, you kind of know who the stars are. But as I say, for them, it's about growth and breaking through to, walking down the street and asking someone, do you like MMA? And they say, yeah. And you say, name a UFC champion. They can go, Usman Nurmagomedov. Name a PFL champion.
I'm not going to lie, if you ask me that right now, I'll be like, Brendan.
Brendan.
I would just say Brendan.
So that's the barrier that they have to break through.
Yeah.
And that's growth.
Yeah, they definitely, like I said, I don't know many PFL fight. I'll be honest. Like Bellator, I could name you some of the champions from Bellator because again, with PFL, Francis Ngannou is a heavyweight champion at PFL, which is I think is a great thing for that. They could build him.
About Nurmagomedov. Does he fight Francis?
Yes, make that happen. I want to see that. Vadim Nab, he's a heavyweight champion at from Bellator. PFL owns. Now you have two champions. What's going to happen?
Yeah, there's a fight to be made potentially.
That's a great fight.
Francis wins.
Francis, yeah. I mean, I don't see Nemkov taking him down. I mean, he might get it like, but I think Francis wins. I don't know, man. Again, I'm 50-50 on that one. Nemkov he's the younger fighter. He's fast. He's quick. He's got flashy spinning wheel kicks and everything. Like,
yeah, but Francis has got a massive right hand.
Francis just got a bomb like this. Actually, both hands.
Yeah.
Especially when he does this and he's coming at you.
And he knocked out Rosenstruck. That was crazy.
If you watch that in slow motion,
he missed 4 punches.
It's the funniest thing you'll see. I'm gonna add the clip. It's the funniest thing you see, right?
Yeah,
he just comes in.
The one that
landed. And the one that lands just finishes it.
That was it.
But yeah, no, that was hilarious. So we're coming up to the end. I just wanna just say a couple of things. We were supposed to, my brother was supposed to fight on Saturday. Farid was supposed to fight as well. That it got cancelled. I was gonna try and get some footage, and so that didn't happen. The following weekend, which is February 8th, me, Farid, and there's a couple of other lads from the gym. We're gonna be going up to Bournemouth for the grappling competition, so I will get some footage of that, and I'm looking forward to that. So from me and James, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Coming up, man. Really
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, man. It's always good to have you on. Always good. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week, and peace out.